So all of our hospitals are out here doing some sort of work for mental health resources. And then 90% of US-based member hospitals offer clinical services in mental health, behavioral health, psychiatry, or sociology. And then 90% of US-based member hospitals are also integrating mental health services into primary and or emergency care visits. And lastly, 72% of US-based member hospitals offer mental health telehealth services, many of which were implemented in response to the COVID-19 pandemic to continue services to patients, and they remain in place as a service today. So just thinking through, knowing we are going to be diving into corporate partnerships, thinking through like, what is that angle you can take to corporate partners, knowing Mental Health Awareness Month is this month, maybe this is your angle. So these are just some statistics from our end and our network. Your member hospital will have some statistics as well that you can ask your hospital advisor for. But just wanted to start off by sharing that, knowing mental health is something that's important to all of us. Your mental health is important to us. So just want to share those. And then hopefully this will take us to a video of one of our champions.
Hi, my name is Ashley. I'm 16 and I'm a junior in high school. I've been playing the cello for 11 years. I'm in the Milwaukee Youth Symphony Orchestra. Music helps me express what I'm feeling, and I can put emotions that I'm feeling into the music, which is really helpful. And I think finding an outlet for your emotions is important, and for me it happens to be music. So what I've realized over time is that I can't really heal like my physical self if I'm not like mentally in that space to heal. So I think emotionally and mentally you have to take care of yourself before you're able to get better physically. And also I've seen that like my emotions and how I'm feeling also directly impact like my physical well-being. I think it's just really important to advocate for that and to get more attention there because it's super important. Children's Miracle Network funds can help kids like me and help them get the care that they really need. Hi, my name is...
All right, awesome. Just wanted to share that story before we jump into the agenda for today.
Perfect. Thanks, MK, for kicking us off with that really important conversation that I know a lot of us are having on our campuses and in our groups. But jumping ahead into our webinar for today, our agenda, we're going to go over our sponsorship in DM, prospecting. MK is going to help us since that is a lot to do with her new role, holistic partnerships, a timeline for you all to look at, a summer to do, and then part 2 that will kind of lead you into DMLC, and then we'll have some wrap-ups and questions. I will take this time to note that a lot of the structure that we're talking about deals with a spring event for your main event. So if you have a fall event, kind of, talk with your advisor if some of these parts are confusing for you, but just know that the conversations we're having today do cycle around a spring event. So that leads us to sponsorship and DM. So I do also want to say just thank you for everyone who is attending this meeting today. Sponsorship will be the word of the hour. However, I want to give you peace of mind that there are so many areas of a dance marathon team, a dance marathon group that can play such an important role in being a part of sponsorship. And so I think even if you don't think that this is applicable to you, you're definitely going to walk away with learning something new today. So thank you for all being here. You might not be on finance or sponsorship. Okay. I have a lot of times I need to say this today to get tongue-tied right now. But you will definitely learn something even if you don't fall in any of those positions. So we're just happy you're here. So sponsorship role in DM. So the role of sponsorship plays in DM is cultivating the relationships in your community. It's mutually beneficial to the people you are working around. So if you're spreading the word about DM and gaining that loyalty, you're also probably able to help a company or a business expand their brand exposure and bring awareness and as you're gaining that support for them. So it helps be mutually beneficial for the both of you. And then it lends a professional real world experience. So the skills and the relationships you gain from having this role in Dance Marathon and understanding these roles in Dance Marathon will stay with you longer than just your Dance Marathon career. And this role is definitely a position that's successful to the entire board and helping to achieve your goals. So definitely a key part in your DM experience. Next, we have our selling points. So what are the big selling points for the company you're pitching? You might think, what does Dance Marathon have in common with a company that you might be prospecting, which you're going to be learning about here pretty quick with MK. But you need to take every opportunity to figure out your market and figure out how your event aligns with your campus community, your other community, how people see DM. And then some of these questions on here are open-ended, but it's here to help you evaluate what those talking points for your program are and how you can be approachable to a business. So is the company going to benefit from getting in front of Dance Marathon demographic? What businesses are looking to get in front of a group of young adults, primarily young adults who are on a college campus and might be benefiting from hearing from their product, business, brand, all of those things. Does DM fit in the mission and the values of the company you're working with? If a company is all about, let's say their backbone is helping animals and being advocate for animals, there might not be a lot of overlap there, but you might find that a bank has value in young professionalism and helping the future. And you all align with those things. So finding those overlaps is definitely what that of the mission is what that means. What reach can you offer the brand? So do you have a big Instagram following, a big Facebook following? Do you have a lot of in-person events that they might be able to table at and show off their brand and their purpose? Post-graduation job fulfillment. Are there job opportunities that this company can have by being in front of people who are going to be going into the workforce very soon and having solid heads on their shoulders and know how to do some of these professional things when they're done. And doing good is good for business. So people like having businesses, organizations associated in their day-to-day life that have some kind of impact outside of something within themselves. So those are some quick selling points. As you go through prospecting, keep some of these in mind and how these questions can help you in your own journey.
Awesome. So now we're going to dive into the bulk of this meeting. It's going to be about prospecting. And some of y'all might be thinking, oh, I don't know what that is. The good news is we're going to tell y'all. So before we dive into this, I just want to share a little bit about my new role on the business development side. My team goes out and we prospect and we do research and we do outreach to acquire new corporations to work with us as corporate partners, whether that is through traditional sales campaigns, whether it's through packaging campaigns, just straight donations, whatever it is. Our job is to find those new people, build the connection, and then continue to foster that relationship moving forward. So hopefully y'all will understand all of that as we go throughout this presentation. If y'all have questions, please put them in the Q&A. I see one's in there, Abigail, if you want to check that while I throw the first poll out there. So I know a lot of y'all are new in your positions. Congratulations for the new boards that have just been selected. So want to put this first poll out for y'all. It's 3 questions. If y'all can answer it, that would be fabulous. The scale is 1 being no clue or super uncomfortable, 5 being I fully understand and feel confident. The 3 questions are, do you know what prospecting is? How comfortable do you feel with the role of prospecting? And then second is, where do you stand right now, knowing where and how to start looking for partnerships? And then lastly, for your individual program, how confident are you that you are targeting the right companies with the right ask? We will get to that later of the combination of those 2 and how they are truly your secret sauce. So I want to say too, for a lot of y'all, this is, again, Abigail already mentioned, we're going to be talking on a spring scale. For a lot of y'all, this is the beginning of the year. So if you are sitting at a 1 for all of these, we don't want you to feel in any shape or form like that's a bad thing. You are here to learn and to gain these skills. I also want to go back to what I said in the beginning of writing down any sort of questions, comments, thoughts, anything you have to send to your CPM or to connect with your CPM after this, because the idea is we go through this presentation, you'll have all these light bulb moments and then you run with it and you feel even more confident going into the next semester. Okay, so we have some good answers here. Thank you all for those who answered. I'm going to go ahead and end this. It looks like many of y'all are in the right spot because we have a lot of 1, 2s, and 3s. So we're very happy to have y'all. Okay, and that. And now we're going to go into prospecting 101. This is kind of our little mini agenda for this session. So we're going to talk through what is prospecting, Why is it important? What does timing look like? Both thinking about fiscal years and corporate partners, and also you and your role on your leadership team. What does your timing look like in dividing it with your other responsibilities? What are first steps to prospecting? How do you even start prospecting? And then what does outreach really look like? So hopefully, like I said, we run through this and y'all leave feeling a little bit more confident in this role. So for starters, we're going to go through what is prospecting. So this is the process of actively researching and finding new partnership opportunities. The keyword being opportunities. This doesn't always mean that you lock into a new partnership. This is just an opportunity or a lead. So I know we mentioned this a little bit, but finding a company that aligns with your mission. I do think it's important here to note that your mission does not need to equal their mission. That can be something as like they want to do good in the community, or they're looking for the target audience of dance marathon students, or for potential post-grad opportunities. It doesn't have to be they support children's healthcare, you support children's healthcare. It doesn't have to be exact match. So think about what opportunities you can propose to make that company want to work with you, knowing you guys have the demographic you do. And with prospecting, something that's super important is finding the right contact. I feel like that's something where people get blocked a lot, is you don't have the right person in the company advocating for you. Once you find that person who you'll be working with, they'll advocate for you and they'll advocate for your cause. That'll be probably getting more involved, donating more money, being more present at events, giving more in-kind goods, whatever that looks like. So finding the right person is one of the big steps to prospecting. You can do this in a host of ways: Google, LinkedIn, looking through the company website, calling, going in and saying, hey, I'm interested in looking for a partnership opportunity. Can you point me in the right direction? And then the third part of that would be understanding the right time to contact that right person. So we're going to dive into fiscal years in a little bit, but you can ask whoever you're trying to contact, what does your fall look like? I'd love to find time for us to sit down and talk about what a potential partnership could look like, but I want to be cognizant of what your fall calendar looks like, what you all have going on, and however we Dance Marathon at X University can fit in to support you and your cause. Just showing that it really is a partnership from the beginning can move mountains to sealing that deal in a new partnership. And also understanding what a reasonable request for the specific company is. Some companies will be able to give you an arm and a leg. Some will barely be able to scratch two pennies together, but they're willing to support you with in-kind goods, or they're willing to be present at your event or volunteers at some event you're hosting. So figuring out what that request look like, because it's not always copy and paste. It's not always taking the bronze sponsorship from your sponsorship packet, inserting it into a new partnership. So thinking through those four things as you all go through prospecting, I know everyone's going to be really excited that we have a video of me doing some live prospecting in a little bit, and you'll see how I walk through some of these steps to find a company we can look into, and then how I would go about finding that right contact. Spoiler alert, I don't find the right contact, but I start to show you how to do it. And something else I want to note is this process is not only for the director of corporate partnerships or the finance team or wherever this is housed in your specific dance marathon. The more hands you can have on prospecting, the more successful you'll be. So if someone is having a low week and they don't have anything to do, or they just wrapped up a massive event and they're writing a bunch of thank you cards, maybe they want to help you prospect. Maybe you can teach them how to prospect. Maybe someone will find a new love for this and want to be interested in this position next year. Who knows? But that's something that is important to figuring out the prospecting process. So it's really a learn as you go process, but those are the steps I would say are the best to follow to have success. And then y'all might be thinking, okay, but why is prospecting important? You can go ahead and find a email and reach out to someone, or you can walk in and drop off your letterhead and sponsorship packet. But those things might not set you up for the most success to have someone call you back, or to have someone say yes to a meeting to talk about what that sponsorship could really look like. So when you do prospecting, you find connections, whether that is through people, or you learn what's important to the company, or you see that they have an event coming up that is important to them. Maybe they just acquired a huge new company and you want to say congratulations to that. Showing something that you are connected to their company and their brand can really move that needle to, yes, we want to work with you, or we're open to talking about this, or maybe moving you up in the pipeline, because a lot of companies have nonprofits reaching out to them to work with them. So Something our team thinks about all the time is, what can we do to make us stand apart? What can we do to show we care and we're going to go the extra mile to engage with this company, to support them, to make sure that what's important to them we can fulfill, even if that's not exactly cookie cutter what we offer typically. And also, it helps you identify opportunities. When you're doing this research and prospecting, you find out a lot about different companies and you see potential new opportunities elsewhere. It might not be with this one company you're looking at, but you might say, oh, I saw this thing in the news, and maybe instead of going after X company, we should go after Y. Or maybe we can do something where we marry the two together and do an event, whatever it looks like. But prospecting is going to give you these connections and these opportunities to help you be more personable when you do outreach and start to connect with folks about whatever that potential partnership can look like. And next, I want to talk through a little bit of timing. So I actually was director of corporate partnerships when I was in undergrad. So this is very special to me, this role. So I'm very happy I get to talk to you all about this today. But something I didn't know for the longest time is about fiscal years and how that can impact someone saying yes or no. Not that they don't want to support you, but they're at a point in their fiscal year where maybe they can't give. Maybe it's not an option for them. So this is something to think about as you go through prospecting. Most fiscal years are January 1st to December 31st. That doesn't mean all by any means. So keeping that in mind, most companies are not able to give in their Q3. Their Q3 is they're maxing out, they're finishing things up, they're setting their new budgets for the following year. They're only focused on finishing out this year. So with that being said, if you do have good connections from a company last year, make sure you are starting those connections to say, hi, I'm the new person that you'll be working with. Thank you so much for last year. Or anyone on your team can be saying thank you to those folks and giving them encouraging words for their support last year, sending photos, stories of kiddos, any of your kiddos that came to your main event. They'd love to see those things. So thinking through that as you're doing your prospecting, you might be able to find these fiscal years. This is also something that will be important in that connection aspect of, hey, just curious, when are your fiscal years? I want to be mindful that we're not bothering you when you're wrapping up your fiscal year. Q4 is pretty busy for most folks, especially the folks that do work with partnerships. They typically have a lot to get done. So that's something that might set you apart when reaching out to a new partner or a new partner lead, whatever it is, just thinking through what can you do to make sure you're being cognizant of that opportunity. And then thinking through any of your large scale events, knowing y'all are all starting to plan your fall events. This might overlap with Q4 for some folks. So this might sound a little crazy to some people, but now is the time to start thinking about who you want your fall partners to be. Do you have a fall fundraising push coming up? Child Health Day? Do you have a recruitment fall push coming up? Thinking through, do you have partners that you worked with last year that maybe you can engage with them in the fall as well instead of just the spring? It can't hurt you to ask as long as your ask is mindful and you've done your research beforehand. So think through that too as you start with your timing, knowing timing on your end is only half of the battle. Their fiscal year is always going to override no matter how good your pitch is. So if you know fiscal years, it's going to save you a lot of time and going to help you be able to seal more deals. And I'm a visual gal, so I put this up here for us as a visual for a fiscal year example, being a January 1 to December 31st. So we're basically in June. So let's just go ahead and say that is now. Internal budget communications are beginning regarding the upcoming fiscal year. So right now they're starting to plan their line items. How much money do they have to give? And then around October is when the first draft is going to be submitted for executives to approve. End of the year, department budgets will be finalized and they'll start spending January 1. So spending is going to start January 1, which means January 1 might be a great time for you to enter into conversations. However, I would encourage you to start connections now and whenever you start your prospecting to say, hey, did you know it's Mental Health Awareness Month? Here's some great things going on in my local member hospital to treat the kids in our local community. Would love to talk further about this, just bridging that gap so it doesn't seem so out of left field when you come in January 2nd to say, hey, I'm the director of corporate partnerships. I'd love to talk to you about a potential opportunity. So just being mindful of this, feel free to take a picture of it if that's helpful. If not, your CPMs can get this out to you after as a resource. But this is something that'll help you throughout the process of figuring out when do I send an email? When do I call? When's a good time to ask? Because you don't have to be asking every week, but I do think you need to be doing your prospecting and your research every week to figure out what is your target list. So with that, we'll talk a little bit about how to spend your time. So this would be more so for the director of corporate partnership, this 60% of prospecting and outreach, taking up 60% of your time. For other folks, this will not apply. You guys have other jobs too. However, if you have internal connections, let's say I am the director of recruitment, but my uncle has a car dealership where I go to school. Yeah, if I have that connection, those should be going over to the director of corporate partnerships so they can take that and spend their 60% of their week doing prospecting and outreach. So this will include not only research on companies, trying to find that right person. Sometimes this is a bit of a bumpy process, modifying your individual ask to fit the company, and any initial information you might need to make sure that ask is the correct ask at the correct time. Sorry, I need some water. Okay, and then how to ensure the ball keeps rolling throughout the year. Internal should continue to help you with these prospects. I think it's something many of y'all can build into your exec board meetings if you're interested of, let's think through a few companies in the local area, or does anyone have any connections? And we don't move on until we have at least 2 new options on the board. They might be something that the director of corporate partnership has already looked into and doesn't think is an option, but at least everyone's staying involved in that aspect. So if you're struggling, ask them to think about local smaller companies in the surrounding areas that might be able to donate a smaller fiscal amount or an in-kind amount. So challenging your team to think about, what do y'all need? What is something on the smaller side you can ask for? Because folks get very excited about in-kind still. If there's something in-kind that you know your students would jump around for, then I think you should get that as well. That is still a victory. And then thinking through, where do you start? We're going to start with who, and then we're going to go into where. So the first step I would say is your hospital advisor. Your hospital advisor works with a lot of corporate contacts already in your local community. So I want y'all to be mindful of which ones you can reach out to and which ones you cannot reach out to. Your hospital has contacts and they have relationships that we want to honor as dance marathons. So if you all can please contact your hospital advisor to connect with them about if there's anyone you should be avoiding reaching out to, and marking that in your tracker, which we have some examples for y'all in a little bit. And your hospital advisor might have some ideas of partners they already work with that maybe you all can work with in some capacity. Next would be your executive board team, your internal team. Ask each member on your team for connections, parents, best friends, uncles, cousins, family friends, whatever it is. You can see on the right-hand screen, this is a screenshot of one of our resources that live in the Dance Marathon website. And you can change the colors if you're feeling so jazzed. But the idea is you put down your name as the executive board member, the company that you have a connection with, and that contact's name, and then their contact information. I've always suggested to add in there, do you want to contact them, or are you okay with the finance team contacting them? I just think it's a nice connection. You will then use this to run with your prospecting. So maybe I wanted to do the outreach as the executive board member. If not, you all can do it and mention my name of, oh, did you know MK's on our board? We're really excited about this upcoming year and would love to talk to you about potential sponsorships to promote your company alongside our cause. And then the first step, which I would say is very important, is identify your first priority. These things of talking to your hospital advisor and your team are going to set you up for success with prospecting. But until you figure out what is your priority, we don't know where to start. So it might be finding new partners. It might be a fall fundraising push you have. It might be a fall recruitment event. It might be upselling your current partners, whatever it is. And you can lean into your advisors to figure out what that is. That's going to be your first step to figure out which companies you should be going after. And then first step, where this is a little bit about the research that you'll be doing and prospecting, figuring out where do you find that information. Google is our best friend as we do this on the business development team. We do a lot of searches, and y'all will see this in a second as we go through it. But I want y'all to be cognizant of how a Google search can help or hurt you. So if you search companies that support children's charities, this is probably going to get you a huge filter, and you'll see a lot of companies that you might not necessarily be able to find a lead in, because they might have children's healthcare as their cause, but they might have something completely different. So be cognizant. I would always add in your state. So you'll see in this video, I searched banks in North Carolina, and that helped me generate all these leads. And then I went from there. Local companies, you'll know your schools and your communities. Go around, drive around with some of your buddies and see what is there, what are your options. LinkedIn is a great opportunity. You can also see who the hospital has connected with there, and then utilizing that list from your hospital advisor of companies to reach out to and companies to not reach out to. And then your internal team connections, any of those leads that can come into some sort of partnership. And then lastly, matching money. UF has a really great example of this on their website. I thought it'd be amiss if I didn't mention it in part of the partnerships opportunity. I also think matching partnerships is a great thing for y'all to think about. Sometimes if you raise X amount of dollars in a fall fundraising push, they will match that. So something else to think about, and kind of getting outside of the box with partnerships and what those pitches look like. And then the last slide before I stop talking and you listen to a video of me is how to prospect. What does this really look like in a step-by-step breakdown? So I wanted to break this down in a few steps. This process can change, so don't think this is something you are set in stone with, but the process will look like researching companies, finding what their missions, their values, leadership, who that contact would be. And then next, create a list of prospects that align with your mission or what you have to offer. So like I said earlier, you don't need to go after companies where their mission equals your mission. You just have to go after companies where you can offer something that they want. So think about that as you're creating your target list and considering timelines, fiscal years, and budgets as you're going through this. It's something that's a really nice touch as you go into a corporation to say, I want to be mindful of this. Can you tell me about this? And that way you have those notes to pass on for next year. And then find a connection to the company, whether that's through mission statements, your internal team, maybe something you saw in the news. Maybe you can find a connection in something you saw on a contact's LinkedIn. Oh, I saw that you went to the aquarium yesterday. Yeah, my first job was at the aquarium. Whatever it is, it can really be something small, but shows you're a person and you're paying attention to them as a person. And lastly, make the connection for the company as why they should be supporting you. Advocate for yourself, show them why you'd be a good partner and what they can do and benefit from with being your partner. So we're going to watch a video that is truly the raw footage of me prospecting. The only thing I did before I hit record was make my Google search and find a company that I knew would populate from that Google search. So you will see me go through at times. I think I find something and I don't, but I want y'all to see how I go about this process, because I know I've been talking about it for 30 minutes now, but I want y'all to see what that would look like too. So feel free to take any notes. If you have any questions, throw them in the Q&A as we watch it. But it's about 6 minutes of finding a lead to seeing what the connection would be for my outreach. All right, so I'm going to walk us through what an example would be of how to prospect and how to do that research so you can target the right company with the right ask. Knowing both of those parts are really important for us. I record this ahead of time just knowing that it would be a little difficult to show y'all live. So hopefully this works. So I went ahead and just searched regional banks in North Carolina. Let's say my school is in North Carolina. That's the target I'm going to go for rather than globally or even regionally. You could do that, but I would say starting with your state is going to be the easiest way for you. So here you can see First Citizen Banks headquartered in Raleigh, North Carolina. So for me, I know I'm going to have a better chance at that versus I know PNC Bank is headquarters in Pittsburgh. So maybe if you're up north, maybe that's a better route for you. So quick little search here. You can do this with anything, or search regional banks in North Carolina that support children that support healthcare, any of those things, instead of specifically searching for like support children's healthcare charities. There's a lot of ways you can find it without searching entirely what you're looking for, but could still get you there. So next, I want to show you what I would do, knowing we're going to look through First Citizens Bank. So I've already pulled up their site here. I'm just on their basic site, firstcitizens.com. So most of this, just because it's a bank, is going to be about like opening an account, those sorts of things. But sometimes there's going to be like an About Us tab up here or community. I would recommend looking at those if you see them. If not, just scrolling through. So like this is important information for you to know. First Citizens acquires Silicon Valley Bridge Bank. If you've been keeping up, this is a huge bank that closed. So that's helpful for you to know that a lot of new business is coming to them. So they're going to be looking to expand their giving probably. So keep looking on up here. None of these things are going to be important for us. Let's see what else we can find. Most of this is just about company, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, another part of North Carolina. So you can see they're really focused in the middle part of North Carolina. I don't think that's super important. Here, there's this About First Citizens tab. So we'll go back to that in a second, but let's keep looking to see if there's anything else down here. No, so you want to go to that About First Citizens tab. And here, this should tell us a little bit about their giving or what they're committed to or history about them that might be important for you to make that connection, because ultimately we don't want you just sending a blind email to them. We want you to have some sort of connection to them or be able to say, hey, we saw this about you. This is important to us. And we think it would be really great if we could work together and both support your mission and ours. So this is just some statistics about them. You can see here they're in 23 states. So that's helpful. Maybe you could share some statistics of at our college campus, we have students that come from X amount of states, or our donors are from X amount of states, those being the highest from most likely North Carolina or the surrounding states, but that might be helpful data for you. So things like this are really important. This looks like it's just going to run through their beginning. Okay, expanding to new states. You can see that they went from North Carolina to West Virginia. And then this is more recent news, so this is going to be helpful. See right here. They help teens with cancer. So we first joined together with nonprofit Teen Cancer America in the Who's Roger. I don't know what that is. To open the doors to better cancer care for young adults. This mission continues as we partner with local hospitals. So there's your in. You found your connection. You've found something that you can reach out to. You can say when you're initially doing your outreach, after you find that right point of contact, which I would recommend not going to the general email if you can. Knowing your school might not be based in Raleigh, where their headquarters is, but you might be in a place where there are banks near you. Maybe you can go in and ask, hey, we're interested in partnering with y'all and seeing how we can align together. Do you have a point of contact, whether that is at the national office or the regional office, and go from there. And then you can learn more here. But see, this is important. You can see this picture. This is something you could take a screenshot of and attach in your email to them. And I would say learn more, or even as you sent your email saying, I really enjoyed reading about your partnership with Teen Cancer America. We would love to continue to support this mission together, supporting the kiddos that have cancer in our local community. We have statistics about that on the asset library too, of how many kiddos we treat with cancer every day. So you could do some math there and figure out what that would look like, month, day, whatever it was you wanted to see. So you can see here, they already have a way for people to donate, which seems like they would be willing to continue working on that. You can read more about their goal and align. So here, this is in the Southeast. That's helpful to know. They already have these statistics about cancer. So you could say, I saw on your website every hour 8 teens are diagnosed with cancer. Did you know every day one of our member hospitals treats, I think it's around 8,000 kids with cancer a day? That's crazy. Connect those two dots. They're obviously supporting the Southeast. So maybe if you are in the Southeast region as well, that's something you could look into. this, I would say, would merit another Google search. We've worked with 5 hospitals to add dedicated teen cancer programs. Maybe we can search here, teen cancer, America, citizens. Maybe this will tell us more. Let's look at this one. Okay, it doesn't seem like it's saying anything about specific hospitals. Oh, here it is. 6 hospitals in the Southeast. Okay, y'all. So that was just me going through the process, and I ended the video as I got very excited because I figured out the connection. Many of those hospitals listed are some of our member hospitals. So it was the perfect segue. It was truly raw footage of y'all watching me walk through that. So I hope that wasn't helpful for y'all to see what that process really looks like and what that took 7 minutes. It might not be a necessarily secured partnership, but it is a great lead. It's a warm lead, and we want warm leads. Warm leads would be like something where you have a connection to it. You're based in the same mission. It's a internal team member connection, something like that. So really quickly, I want to brush upon how not to prospect. We talked about a lot of the things of how to prospect. These are things I want you all to avoid if you can, because these are things that are most likely to not get a response. These are things that are most likely going to end your communication. You will not hear back from them. So if you can avoid mass emails, generic emails showing no connection, none of the research you've done, going after extremely large companies, the Googles and the Amazons of the world most likely are not going to support your local dance marathon. They are a national company looking into national scope rather than supporting locally. So not customizing your content or your ask. And sometimes the only thing you get is an info@company.com email. If you can look further into that and find a person email, I would recommend that 10 times over. And lastly, no call to action. At the end of your email, we want you to say, I'd love to set up a meeting. I'd love to talk more. Here's my phone number. When's a good time next week? Those sorts of things. So if you can avoid these things, you'll most likely get more responses. And then I already do these things. What now? So what I would recommend to y'all who already do some of these things, whether you do all of them, none of them, I think this is a good list regardless. Review your target list with your teams and your advisors. Who do you have on there? What happened from last year? Do you have any current partners you can be asking for more? Can you maybe activate them in the fall if they're already fun, if they're already supporting your spring dance marathon? And plan what those pitches would look like for those current partners. And next, thinking, where's your greatest opportunity to secure a new partner? Would that be offering your fall fundraising push? Would that be offering a specific event, whatever it might look like? And then next, think through what your campus needs the most. What would excite your campus to get people, more people involved with Dance Marathon, to get people at events, whatever it is. Y'all know your campus, but put together your heads and think through what this list could look like. So sorry. And next, I'm almost done talking anyway, so no one has to hear me cough or take water breaks. Next, some of y'all might not have a tracker, but good news is we have an example for y'all on our website. So you can use this, you can change the status in there, which is super helpful so y'all can communicate with each other. And then lastly, before I hand it on over to Abigail, what is successful outreach? What does this look like? Thinking through creative subject lines, making it more conversational, share what you can offer, and end with that definitive ask. So I'm going to pass it on over to Abigail.
Okay, we'll let MK catch her breath over there after all the incredible knowledge she's given us on her role in the business development team. But we're gonna branch into holistic partnerships. So an ideal partnership, MK, if you want to go to the next slide, thank you. So what should this look like from both parties? So some kind of contract that says this is what we're going to give you, this is what you can expect from us in return, vice versa. This is how much they're promising to donate to you. What are they going to get in return for that agreement that you all have? So constant communication with that person. What does a full year look like? What are the things that you're interested in communicating with them? What are the things that they care about that you all are doing or that your hospital is doing? And we're actually going to have another portion of this that talks a little bit more about a year-long layout. So keep this in mind for later. And then long-term, how do you have this partnership for more than 1 year? How do you keep the sponsorship coming back and wanting to be a part of Dance Marathon for more than just this year? And then next, how do you make it long-term? A little bit more to elaborate on that. So do you say, hey, for the next 2 years, would you like to help us or expand that contract? You can deepen the bench. Like, how many sponsorships do you have that you can continue to rely on and continue to build those relationships with? And then your stewardship and your impact. So what are you doing to make these partners want to stay with you and stay loyal to this cause and want to know more about Dance Marathon every year and expect to hear from you and know that you're going to be coming around every year to talk about these sponsorships? Like I said earlier, for the long term, a successful partnership doesn't necessarily have an expiration date. So you want to look for a potential sponsorship that has long-term value and long-term purpose in supporting you all. So your 2022 partners. Right now, in this point of the year, you all should be making sure that your contract was done to completion, whatever you offered them in exchange for their support, whether those were Instagram posts, all those things. A lot of these things should be wrapped up by now, but just a reminder that coming in, making sure those things got ticked off, making sure that somehow in the midst of transitions, their thank you note didn't get lost if you guys decided you were going to write hand notes, things like that. Like I said, we still have to go over a timeline on the end for a rough outline of what a year-long communication looks like, but you can still take time to introduce yourself to this new contact. Maybe you can share a story of a patient or an impact of the funds you're raising over the summer. Some kind of information, let them know, like, yes, this year's ended, but you have a new person that you can look forward to and get information from. And then what can you do to increase financial partnership? So thinking outside the box. So a lot of times it's, something that falls underneath your sponsorship levels in your sponsorship packet, but some of those partners might not be able to make ends meet to do a sponsorship in the traditional sense. Maybe they have some different asks of you, but would like to support you in different ways. So thinking outside the box, those are things that you probably aren't going to be listing in your sponsorship packet, like I said, but what communication and what relationship can you build with them so you have an open rapport and can figure out what the best option is for that partner. And then, like I said, the communication example. This is a huge resource. Please take a picture of it and kind of make it your own for your program. But cycling on a spring event, something that we would probably do in January is a back to school post. So you just got off of break. What does that look like for everyone going back to school? I think the most important thing here is to be mindful of your partner and what they are wanting to see. So is this a partner that truly cares about what the college students are doing at Dance Marathon, or is this a partner that finds value in knowing where their money is going and what are the children at your local hospital doing? So in February, that might look about what the Valentine's opportunities are at the hospital. Sometimes they do virtual holiday card or virtual Valentine's Day cards, and they might be able to go on and participate in that. And they might have a sweet story about a heart transplant. I know February is also heart month. So things like that. March, have an impact story to share. Maybe you guys have done a large push and you've raised a lot of money and that's going to make a huge impact on the hospital. April, your event's coming up. What questions can you answer for them? Do they have any outstanding questions on what their sponsorship looks like? May, event follow-up and transition from your old position to the new position like we just talked about. June and July, very similar. New position reaches out, happy summer, potential story. And then some of those later months in the year that have obvious holidays that happen towards the end of the year, and your hospital does a lot of those events. Whatever might be applicable to your group and your demographic, figure out what they want to hear. So, reverse trick-or-treating, grateful for you, happy holidays, all of those situations.
Awesome. And now we're going to jump into a timeline. I do have a cough drop now, so now you're going to hear my cough drop. So sorry. This is going to follow a spring DM timeline, so be mindful of that for our fall folks. But what can you be doing over summer to set yourself up for success? Review those 2022 partners. Make sure you're doing follow-up and introductions, sharing with them the impact of funds and their support. You can do a quick little infographic of, we raised this much money. You helped us with raise X amount of dollars, or you donated X amount of dollars, which can fundraise or can get whatever equipment, can get a new NICU nurse, can get a new room so for support, whatever it is, just find that through line to show them the impact they had. And then start utilizing that tracker, whether it's the one we have up on our site or one you and your team have been using for years, but figure out how you're keeping track of outreach and contacts. And also, if you can have a place where all of those fiscal years live, so you can say fiscal year starts this day, you should do outreach ideally this time frame. That'll help whoever's coming next and after that and for years to come can have a huge impact on your organization. And then finalize those internal connections, make sure your executive team, your internal team get a hold of that and plan your fall outreach. Who do you want to target for the fall, keeping in mind fiscal years? And then for the fall semester, start to reach out in early fall about working together. Use that research you've done, find those connections, make a clear ask to people and show them what you can offer. Brag about your community. Say, we've been on campus for this many years. There's this many of us that are part of the organization. This many people came to event last year. Brag about y'all and the impact you have on campus. And let's say in the fall, you're hitting a roadblock. What do you need to do? Analyze your sponsorship levels and the angle you have for outreach. Think about, do you have a valid outreach reason, or are you just sending those generic emails and not hearing back? If so, maybe we need to change what the email content looks like, or maybe we need to change who you're sending them to. Pinpoint those roadblocks. Is it the person you're reaching out to? Is it the asks, timing, what we're offering? Is it just not curated to that partner? And these are conversations I encourage y'all to have with your finance team, your advisors. This is really what your advisors are here for, so lean into them. If you're hitting roadblocks in the fall, don't stay quiet. Come to your advisors. I hope y'all are getting some ideas from this and writing them down in an email to send to your advisors, or setting up a call, whatever it is, but lean in, they will be able to help you. And then for the spring semester, start communication with your current partners, start thinking about what it'll look like with them at the event. And this might seem a little crazy, but outreach for fall, you can already start that of planting the seed of, we have this event coming up in the fall. I know your fiscal year starts January 1 and y'all will be going into review in June. Is it possible for y'all to plan to support us in October 12th, whatever it is? And then plan some good experiences for those partners in event and recognition for them. And if you're hitting roadblocks in the spring, ask your hospital for stories that you can share with partners, some stories of impacts and stories of kiddos. Everyone loves a video. They're so successful. Can you put those in? And think about what smaller asks you can have, whether it's in kind or financially. And then what other things can you offer? Can you offer an all participant meeting? Can you offer an email blast? Can you offer them to come talk on stage for a few minutes? There's different opportunities that might excite partners. And then quickly, some summer action items.
Woohoo, go summer. So summer jobs turn partner. I think this is a really interesting intersection of what can you physically be doing in your summer plans that might have an impact on Dance Marathon. So where does the executive board have jobs this summer? Maybe this is something that you survey the board and see, okay, here are some soft leads, for warm leads, soft leads for me to figure out what research I can do on these things sitting in front of me that we already give us a connection at that place. So if MK and I are both working at Starbucks this summer, wow, we already have a contact person to go back and say, hey, I did some research for you, MK. Here's some things that maybe you could bring to your boss, or maybe I could ask them myself. So that's one way that you can kind of figure out, have an easy in on a summer job. You'll also be very ahead of the game with forming professional relationships that will have a lasting impact. This is something that will prove to benefit you outside of Dance Marathon. And as soon as you graduate, maybe this turns your internship into a deeper relationship, and then that's where you have a job after you graduate. And then if they're not able to support Dance Marathon in sponsorship opportunities, are there ways that they can support your personal funding? So I know some places will do like work for volunteer, or they might have matching for you to like work, and then they'll match that for donation, but they might not be able to fulfill a full sponsorship. So thinking outside the box of how the places that you're in now and the organizations that you're with outside of school and Dance Marathon can help you form relationships and potential leads for the board. So things to do right now. Follow up with last year's partnerships. This is something we keep talking about, but it's really important that the organization that you're working with feels like they have continuity and they feel like they have someone that they know who they can always go to. So if the transition happens and they don't know who to reach back out to, you might be missing communication from that partner when they're trying to get a hold of you or let you know, hey, we're still interested, or no, we're not. And then if you're reaching out to them with the questions again or introducing yourself, you're going to be a step behind. Survey the board. What leads are right in front of you, like I just said, who has summer jobs that have opportunities, who has a family member who might own a business, and that's a really great in because they're probably passionate about the things that their family member is doing while they're in school. Who has connections that kind of goes along with that. What other places do you think might have a in with the board and an easy conversation to have? And then 3, prospect. What does your list look like? What research can you be doing? If there are things that you might know, like, hey, I think this organization would be really great for us. They also support X, Y, and Z. And maybe that might help you get a few steps into, like you saw when MK was prospecting. Sorry, my dog just ran through the house. What prospecting can you do and what ways can you help yourself get ahead of the game, and then make a plan and start organizing. So like the tracker, that's a great example. Of how can you know who's doing what and who's working on what, and making sure communication's not getting lost. Nothing would feel as unorganized as calling someone and then being like, oh, we've already talked to someone. And you're like, oh, sorry, didn't know that. And then, that might reflect poorly on Dance Marathon in your group. So staying organized is really important, making a plan, and kind of ask yourself these open-ended questions as you move forward through the year.
And then we're very excited because there will be a part 2 of this at DMLC. So for those of y'all that will be with us in St. Louis, we'll be doing a second session very similar to this, but more in depth. So this was more of the how do I get started? And then at Dance Marathon Leadership Conference, this will be more of the nitty gritty, brainstorming some small, medium, and large businesses that you can pitch to, and figuring out what that will look like, how to go about finding those small, medium, and large businesses, determining your greatest need for sponsors based on your specific campus, and then thinking through how to upsell your current partners. So that word might be new to some of y'all, but the idea is just you have your current partner that maybe donates $10,000 for your main event. Can you upsell them to donate $15,000 instead of $10,000, and also put their name on your emails for your fall fundraising push? Something like that. That was just an example. Everyone's levels are different, but that's the idea of being able to upsell some of those. And we want y'all to be able to connect with folks in the room. So hopefully a lot of corporate partnerships folks will be there. But how can you come prepared to this session? Accomplish that summer action item list that we just talked through, and have an understanding of your specific sponsorship levels. If you want, you can bring this, print out your packet, bring it on your laptop, whatever it is, but that will help you be able to see what is a business that's able to fall into your bronze level or your small business category, what's able to fall into your silver level, your medium business category, and so forth. And have a meeting with your advisors and your finance director before. And for those of you that might be recruitment or might be Greek relations, start thinking through how some of these things we've talked about can be through lines for you as you prepare for your position in the upcoming year. I know that might sound a little funky, but there are a lot of through lines here in how you work with Greek partners and making sure it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And with recruitment, figuring out what's exciting to them. If you are the recruitment director and you're on this call, you are welcome to give your feedback too, of like, I think this would be really exciting for our community. Can we work together to find a company that would be willing to fulfill this, whatever that looks like? And in that meeting, walk through these bullet points, your sponsorship packet, review the companies you have. Again, ask your hospital advisor which companies they are okay with you contacting and which companies they don't want you to ask anything. Don't outreach to them, and put that on your tracker so y'all know, so your whole team knows, so there's no miscommunication. And then strategize what kind of partners you'd like to see for your signature events. And then what will you leave this session with? A better understanding of what companies you should be targeting, examples of how to find the right point of contact and the best value for your partnership levels, more confidence as you head into the new school year, and then tangible action items to keep you busy and productive all semester. And then again, hopefully building some connections and some support systems for you all throughout the year as you go through this process of working for corporate partners. And then what comes after the leadership conference? We want y'all to use this new information and skills to organize a plan for this semester by prioritizing whatever companies you want to reach out to and whatever companies you're trying to outreach for specific events. So twofold, which companies are your highest priority and what events are your highest priority to get partners for. Finalize how you want to track outreach and your partnerships and figure out the goals for each month for each person on your team. Thinking through that tracker, once you have your prospect list, how is your team going through to figure out who the contacts are for that list, figure out who is going to do the outreach and what the outreach angle is. Remember, prospecting and outreach should be taking about 60% of your weekly time. And you'll see more success with new and current partners based on what you have learned from this session. So we're going to send this poll out one more time. Thank you for those who answered it earlier. It's the same thing. It just has one new question of, will you come to this session if you're going to the leadership conference? We just want to gauge how helpful this was so we can change what we're sending out and what content we're pushing out through these sessions, because we want this to be beneficial for y'all. So please give us feedback. If you have any thoughts about things you wish you heard more of, or things that you thought were not helpful that were shared, please feel free to share that with your cause partnerships manager as well, so we can tailor this session for Dance Marathon Leadership Conference to be the best thing we can. So I'm gonna leave us for a few seconds. Wow, y'all are fast.
Ooh, quick fingers.
And my email is going to be on the last slide. If you have questions for me, I also will be willing to share that video with folks of me prospecting. If that is something that you think will be helpful for you and your team, we can share that out if that is something that's helpful. So y'all just let us know if you want that. And then I'm going to give this just a few more seconds before we head on to our key takeaways. And then the last thing we're going to run through before we let y'all go is just what we want y'all to have conversations with advisors. There's some really great bullets there. So I know we are almost at the top of the hour, but if y'all hang tight, we'll let you out probably 2-3 minutes late. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you for those who answered it. Very helpful for us. Okay. And then some key takeaways from this presentation. I know there was a lot of information, so thank y'all for bearing through with this. So spend your summer doing research and setting up your prospects. Really hone in. Summer's not a lot of time for y'all to be doing things, planning events on the corporate partnership side. So spend your time doing research, setting up your prospects, building out your target list, and start with your internal folks and figure out, what does that process look like? How do you want to utilize your internal connections? How do you want to utilize your target sheet? And then organize how you're going to keep all of those engaged throughout the year. Abigail showed that communication idea for each month. Build that out. Ask your hospital advisor for stories for each month. Maybe ask your hospital advisor if they have something for May to share about Mental Health Awareness Month. September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. Maybe you can share something there. All of this can be found on like a simple Google search of what months are childhood healthcare affiliated. And lastly, plan and prioritize how to market your main event and other activations to your partners. Those are your big 4 things, and figuring out how to take those different angles. And I wish I'd put another bullet point on here to say, lean into your advisors. They are a resource to you, and they will be able to help you when you do hit those roadblocks, because they are inevitable. And then Abigail's going to run through some conversations with advisors.
Yeah. So last big takeaway, if you're feeling like at the end of this presentation, you still have like a lot of questions and you feel like, oh, I learned some things, but I definitely want to dig deeper into these topics, please bring it up with your advisors. Your hospital advisors do this all the time, and your CPMs see so many different examples of this that between the two of them and possibly your campus advisor, will help you kind of see the end of your prospect list and see it through with you. So some of the things that might help you are to bring them your prospect list and see how they can maybe visualize it a different way for you and how you can work with those partners all year round. Have them review your sponsorship packet levels. A lot of your hospital advisors work with partners throughout the year and see a lot of these different things at a local level through the hospital, and you can maybe help you brainstorm of what some of those levels look like in respective levels to how big your program is and what you are able to offer, keeping those deliverables appropriate. Ask your hospital advisor for help on clarifying questions you might have about if they're working with a sponsorship. Like MK said earlier, it's really important that as Dance Marathon, we're being mindful of the relationships that our advisors already are currently working on and cultivating, and staying in the places that we should be with the partnerships we're pursuing. And then lastly, this one is always kind of like funny, and people feel their own way about it. But if you're really struggling on outreach, like ask your advisors for direction. Maybe you do a really quick role play of like, hey, I don't know how this conversation is going to go. Can we maybe play it out if like they have a lot of questions and I need to think of things on the fly? Or what are some things that you might see happening if I go to approach this person on a phone call or in person or an email? So let those people like lean into your advisors, let them help you role play through these situations. Let them be editors on your packets, all those kinds of things. They want to hear from you and they want to know what's up. And you never know where you're going to find a partnership sometimes. So lean into them, let them help you. And on the next slide, we have resources. Oh, go ahead, MK. I think I just took the words out of your mouth.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm just going to put this in the chat to the asset library. Feel free to walk through them.
Yeah, so in the asset library, if you kind of follow, or if you follow the link and then you go through our other DM resources, we have opportunities to find sample partnership packets, partnership connection lists, sample partnership letters, and an outreach tracker. So lots of tools to help you. I think it would be so beneficial for you to lay eyes on these things before DMLC, maybe kind of visualize what your program looks like while using these things, and really taking that full deep dive after DMLC when you have all your tools and pieces that you can put together. But definitely take advantage of the resources. They're here for you for a reason. If you're wondering if we have something and you can't find it, please ask your CPM. Maybe we just don't realize enough students want something and can help try to make that for you. So yeah, that is all the resources and direction we can give you on that. But thank you guys so much. I know on the next slide, we have our emails if you need to get a hold of us with any questions. Please let us know.